Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We got a pretty fun Wednesday night slate here, a couple of back-to-backs. In this one, we are taking a look at the Brooklyn Nets hosting the Denver Nuggets, both teams on the second leg of a back-to-back. Nate does have his great article on playpicks.com as well with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page as we got a couple other videos up for you today, including that player props video, starting the week off sizzling hot 8-0. Feeling really good about that one. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, you said it. There's 10 games tonight, and I count at least 9 teams that are in a back-to-back situation, including the Nuggets and the Nets. So that game it was set with a really strange total at 225.5 that was aggressively bet down to 220, now back up to 221.5. It's been about a pick'em line as well, but now the Nets are getting 2 points as we record this. It could fluctuate either way there. Nobody really knows what to make of these teams in a short rest situation and a shorthanded situation for the Nets as they host the Nuggets without Kyrie Irving. Of course, no Kevin Durant for about a month. Well, we will come back to that. 9 other games tonight. We're going to break down Bucks -4 at Cavs, total of 218 there. Look for a separate episode on that. The Hornets are -2 at Indiana. They're on a back-to-back. Clippers on a back-to-back are a pick'em at Orlando. Wow, how far the Magic have come. The Kings, after a 50-point blowout in Boston, are +9 at Atlanta. Your Knicks +6 at the Miami Heat. Total of just 203 there. Raptors are +4 at the Bulls. The Grizz -4.5 at the Spurs, who are on a back-to-back. And the Jazz +2.5 at home against the Suns team. They just played Monday, lost by 5. And then the Mavericks, after getting spanked by the Warriors last night, are -4 in Portland. Looking at these Nuggets and Nets, though, it's kind of a mirror image at this situation, right? Well, when the Nets are at home, they're a one-man band in the sense that James Harden went off last night and they scored 96 points as a team. No Kyrie Irving, of course, because they're at home. And in their last 3 home games, they had one KD for one of those games, but the pace has slowed to a crawl without Kyrie because Harden's orchestrating. I talked about yesterday against the Lakers how he's really a half-court guy, and he does a lot of dancing with the ball. It really kills the pace. So their last 3 home games, 94.4 pace, would be dead last in the NBA over the course of the season. And they're shooting 30% from 3. They're now 15-9 to the under at home, and they're 5-2 to the under on back-to-back situations this year. So it is kind of a miscast line, especially when they score just 108.5 at home. That's 7 points per game fewer. Offensive rating drops 8 points without Kyrie Irving. You know, in this small sample size, we're talking about a 9-point per 100 possession drop for the Nets. If they score just 96 against the Lakers team, that's 23rd in road defense. Now the Nuggets are 10th in road defense, which is great. But I'm really looking at how their offense drops when targeting the under here. On the road, scoring 5 points per game fewer, 5 points fewer offensive rating there. And you might look at their recent results and say, wow, they've been going over lately. But that's because they had a 6-game homestand where they caught fire. And now they're on the second game of a 6-game road trip. In their first game, went under in Detroit last night. And they've gone under in 4 straight road games with the worst offensive rating in the NBA during those road games. So the stark home road splits for both teams. Denver is 27th in pace on the road. They scored just 96 points per game in those road games. And then in diving a little deeper and trying to get a result here, I think we like the Nets. Not our most confident bet by any means. I think the under feels a lot better, but I wouldn't mind parlaying the Nets with the under here, either +2 or money line, because the Nuggets are far more dependent on Nikola Jokic, you know, as much as James Harden does for that team on both ends, so dependent on Jokic. And they've lost 5 straight back-to-backs because of that, because the who Markieff Morris called the 300-pound sloppy fat boy doesn't necessarily have the stamina to come out and put up these crazy numbers on back-to-backs. They're averaging under 107 in those last 5 back-to-backs. I would target their team under in this situation. And Jokic it has some human numbers, his last 5 against Brooklyn. That's very key. Under 24 points per game, 26% from threes, a -15 rating in those last 5. And on those back-to-backs, just again, reinforcing that his offensive rating drops 10 points this season. So if the Nuggets aren't getting everything from Jokic, I don't really see their offense doing very well in this spot. And Brooklyn, plays lights out defense at home, less so without Kevin Durant, but I think they can still play well enough to keep this game low scoring and choppy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't feel the spread either way. I mean, if I were going to touch it, I would only consider the Nuggets because they have Nikola Jokic, and that's really it. And I understand their back-to-back numbers. I mean, both these teams' back-to-back numbers are awful this season. But the Nuggets especially, you can understand them having bad numbers on the back-to-back, just based on how much he has to do everything. But to be honest, I'm done kind of questioning Jokic's stamina necessarily. But it's the same concept on the other side of the ball, where you could make the case that Harden does also, he's kind of pudgy at this point. We've all sort of been talking about it for the entire season. So how is his stamina? I'm not sure, but either way, I love the under as well, and would rather just focus on that. Everything you mentioned about Brooklyn at home, we've targeted them at home in these unders before, as we know they how often they go under at home. We know how much they don't cover at home, despite winning a good amount at home as well. So we always try to eye that, if you did want the Nets in this one, no matter what that spread turns to, the money line is the play, especially if it's at -2, just considering that, like I said, they win at home. They don't necessarily cover, regardless if it's a 2-point spread or if it's a 6-point spread. So I consider that there. And then KD, one thing I'm surprised you didn't mention yet is KD's numbers, or the team's numbers when KD sits. Their offensive rating drops 10 points. Unsurprisingly, that the best scoring point forward, maybe best scorer ever in the NBA history, when he's not on your team, you score 10 points less per 100 possessions. As mentioned, not shocking at all. But yeah, it's really about those road numbers for Denver, the back-to-back numbers for Denver, everything going under. I mean, it's a wild comparison when you look at. You were talking under right away about this game, and I was like, wait, Denver goes over all the time right now. And you were like, yes, but not at home, or excuse me, not on the road, only at home. And it's a huge drop in their offensive rating, because their defensive rating is pretty much the same when they're on the road this season. But it's that offensive rating that we talk about that drops. They score about 6 points less almost per game on the road as well. So I think that's where you get the value in this one. As far as, the sort of the matchup in terms of what they do well, neither of these teams really are defending what the other one does well. Obviously, we know that Denver is looking to get a ton of their points off of assists and keep the ball moving and cutting and getting a lot of stuff actually at the rim. But they're also not defending the rim, which is not where Brooklyn scores. They score in the mid-range and from deep. Obviously, some layups here and there when Harden's cooking the way he does when he's just the entire offense, which is why I would consider Harden again, to be honest. I don't know if we want to go back to the well, but to your point, who's going to score for this team if it's not him? He had, I believe he had, 33, 11, and 12 last night, and they scored 96 points. He can't do anything more than that in this one. And the Lakers on defense are worse. They did have AD back. Shame on us for not at least mentioning it. That definitely had a huge impact on the amount of points that the Nets were able to score. But to sticking to the point, about Denver's defense on the road, it's pretty much the same at home, and it's ripe tonight for an under. If this stays at 221.5, I would honestly bet the under down to about 219 and feel really, really good about that still. So, definitely, we're recording this. It's still 221.5. Nate mentioned how much this thing is fluctuating as people are probably waffling on what to do with this one. But we feel really, really good about that under, and I would hit it, definitely before it gets too high today, or too low rather.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Harden, it is the same kind of drop-off with his offensive efficiency on back-to-backs. I will say he's probably in shape at this point. Hopefully he's not going to sit as the Nets just punt this game, but that would definitely lead to an under if they sit all three of the big three. And just I don't know if he can go off, but AD meet AG for the Nuggets. They still have some great interior defense. They're allowing the 6th fewest free throws per game, which is huge in trying to stop James Harden. And then they score the 2nd fewest free throws. So that's not going to be good for an over if you're hoping for that either. The Nets are also dead last in percentage points off threes at home. So Denver's recent struggles guarding the 3-point line probably not going to be as much of an issue here when you have Harden and Mills, but then everybody else that the Nets throws out there is basically a non-threat from 3 at this point, and then that's going to ruin their spacing. I don't think Nick Claxton doesn't seem like he's ready to go hard. Coming back from that hamstring injury, he played 17 minutes last night. Yeah. So it's going to be a struggle to find points, I think, for either team here. And I think, it's pretty open and shut. Bet the under any way you want here. If you get to this video late and it's down below 218, that would be the cutoff number for me. Then I would just look to tease it back up with another game tonight. There's plenty of options to take, including the Bucks -4, a perfect little tease there to just say Bucks win. This game goes under in the 220s, wherever you wish you got it if you had woken up and checked the lines right away.
Yeah, I mean, I love this so much. I'm just going to lay some on it, keep it simple for this one, and take that under to your point, and not try to get too cute with it. I can still get about -110 on my money there. So anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Probably not going to see this game coming up in the player props video too much, but do make sure to like and subscribe to the page. You can check out those other couple videos. Try to stay hot on that player props video with us, where we also are giving away a gift card opportunity today. So until we see you next, happy betting.